Live from New York, it's the show that has a mock draft, power-packed half hour coming at you. It's the second hour of First Things First.
It does not have the Patriots getting T. Higgins.
I thought you did.
No, that was an alternate draft I sent you to make you happy on Easter.
I thought
that was
that's
a
what you did.
Patriots only
I
one.
wrote it into the
Pay
show.
attention, buddy.
How many mock
All right,
drafts?
I'm out here doing a lot of mock drafts.
darn
This
it.
is mock draft 1.0.
I thought you did.
Mock draft one. How on
I
this
didn't
one?
know.
Do they have the draft capital to get T. Higgins? They don't. Pay
I was
attention.
confused by it.
Of course. Here's how it's going to work. There are trades. This is not how I would run things if any of these teams were lucky enough to have me running the show. This is how I think it will play out to the best of my knowledge at this point. We might do this each and every Monday leading up to the draft. First date. Caleb Williams, obvious first pick. Drake May to Washington. They shipped out his college teammate, Sam Howell. I think that's a little signal they're going to be drafting Drake May. Trade alert.
Hello.
Patriots trade to get with the Vikings. Vikings to get J.J. McCarthy. More on that in a moment.
We got Justin Jefferson.
Marvin Harrison Jr. goes to the Cardinals. Jaden Daniels. Antonio Pierce coached him at Arizona State. Jaden falls to 5, so that's a trade with the Chargers. Giants thrilled they finally get a top-flight receiver, Malik Neighbors. The Titans get the tackle. They have to have Joe Alt. And the Falcons, who need help on defense, get the first defensive player in the draft off the board at number 8. So how did those trades happen? The Patriots got, for the third overall pick, picks 11 and 23 and a fifth-round pick later in the draft. And then for the Raiders, what did they do? They got the 13th pick, a third-rounder, and a future first from the Chargers got that from the Raiders, pardon me, as Jim Harbaugh tries to build up that team smartly but slowly. All right, next date, Brew. The Bears thrilled. The number 3 receiver, and there's a big drop between 3 and 4. He's there, so now they have DJ Moore, obviously Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. The Jets do a very Jetsy thing, and instead of draft the tackle they need because they have old injured tackles, they take the shiny tight end. The Patriots try to rebuild it by taking the second best, some people think best tackle in the class. The Broncos get their quarterback in Bo Nix. I don't like that move, but I think that's what they would do. Jim Harbaugh wants to build up the trenches. Byron Murphy from Texas, probably the best D tackle in the draft. And then the Titans need help at edge. Our friend Cam Jordan getting older. Colts obviously need some corner help with C.J. Stroud in the division. And I know it says tackle next Troy Faltuana for Washington. That's where he played in college. In the pros, he's probably going to be kicked inside. That's where the Seahawks need some help. We'll go to the next 8. Next 8 picks, go through them quickly. The Jags, same thing. In the AFC South right now, need up on corners, whether you're dealing with C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Trevor Lawrence for the Cardinals, or for the Jags, they get a corner. The Bengals still trying to fix that tackle issue. They get one of the youngest and highest upside players in the draft. The Rams, Johnny Newton, Aaron Donald out. Maybe the best D tackle, certainly top 2 D tackle in the draft. The Steelers need help on the inside. They have Herbig right now at center. They take the best center in the draft. The Dolphins lost a lot on defense in the offseason. They get Latu from UCLA. Some people think he could be the best edge rusher in the draft. We know the Eagles need help at corner, Nate Wiggins. The Patriots, with that extra pick that they have, they get a tackle. Now they get the number 4 receiver, the big guy from LSU, and Graham Barton for the Cowboys. He could play any of the 3 spots on the offensive line, guard, center, or tackle. Now to the final 8 of the draft. The Packers get a tackle in Latham. The Bucks get a corner in Terrion Arnold from Alabama. The Cardinals get a tackle. They got their right tackle last year. Maybe they get the left tackle this year. The Bills lost all their safeties this offseason, a lot of secondary. Newman's the only safety he's probably going to go in the first round. Patriots trade back into the first with Detroit to get Michael Penix Jr. They trade their 3rd rounder and a 7th rounder along with pick number 34. So they end up with a tackle, a wide receiver, and their quarterback in Michael Penix. And then I don't know if we can go back to that last 8. I know we jumped it, but there you go. The Ravens do a very Ravensy thing. They get one of the most highly sought-after players in the draft, Kool-Aid McKinstry, the corner from Alabama at pick 30. The Niners have heard Brew talking about how bad the right side of their offensive line is. And the Chiefs get Ladd McConkey to play slot receiver for them. That is Mock Draft 1.0.
Solid. Head to foxsports.com to review that if you've been a little fast. Here are the top 10. We're going to dig in on the Vikings. They took the Patriots spot at 3 and ended up taking J.J. McCarthy, who would join Minnesota with another 3rd overall pick, Sam Darnold. Brew, you watched a lot of Michigan. Daughter went to Michigan.
Yep.
Vikings moving up to grab J.J. A mistake?
No. I mean, obviously, they got to get a quarterback. All right, we know Sam Darnold's not the future there. And one thing people say, and you should see it about McCarthy, is he's kind of can be a paint by numbers guy, right? And Kevin O'Connell, I think that's what he wants. He's out of the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan tree. Brock Purdy, I mean, fit in, gonna do what the playbook calls for, not make mistakes. I think McCarthy, that's what they see in McCarthy. Obviously, you got a great receiver already that you can throw to. So I like it. Look, he's obviously being compared by a lot of people to Kirk Cousins, but maybe with a little more upside. He's obviously won big games. The Cousins, that's been a big part of his problem. This guy won a national championship, the first in 50 years, first outright in at least 50 years for Michigan. So, yeah, I actually think this would be a good move.
Brew explains a lot of why I could see if they trade up that it would be for him and not Jaden. I think Kevin O'Connell, I think a lot of those quarterback whisperer guys really want someone to run their system their way, and that's one of the reasons that J.J. McCarthy is moving up draft boards. Jaden Daniels feels like higher upside, but more variance situation, and if you're Minnesota with Justin Jefferson, with Jordan Addison, with that offensive line already in place, and with that offensive-minded head coach, they might say, we actually thought we were pretty damn good with Kirk Cousins. You know what I mean? Is more athletic than Kirk, but doesn't have to be an uber athlete. That's who I think the Vikings could want to go after.
Next pick at 4, Marvin Harrison Jr. teaming up with Kyler. Last year, the Cardinals' best receiver was Trey McBride with just over 800 yards. Brew, what would the Cards' ceiling be with Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Well, for Kyler, look, I think for Kyler, it is more about his study habits, his attitude, and is he healthy? Because we know his second and third years, he was fine. He was a Pro Bowler, he threw for almost 4,000 yards. I think he had 50 touchdowns over the 2 seasons, about 20 interceptions, something around there. So we've seen him be effective, and he's had pretty good receivers. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald obviously was toward the end, but still, he was Larry Fitzgerald, A.J. Green, DeAndre Hopkins. So it's not like he hasn't had good receivers. Obviously, Marvin Harrison would be great. But if Kyler has learned from his mistakes in the past, maybe been humbled a tad bit, so he'll work a little harder, study, and he's healthy, I think he can play well, and they could actually, we obviously like what they were building last year.
I think that Kyler is in that kind of meaty tier of quarterbacks where what we think of them is directly correlated to how much talent they have around them. And we saw Kyler have his best years. It's when you would expect him to because he was, improving as a young player. But with DeAndre Hopkins, when DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best receivers in the league, I think this is as no-brainer of a pick as there is. The only way I think this doesn't happen is if the Cardinals get so wowed by a trade offer for a team that wants a quarterback. But if the Cardinals stick at 4, they're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. I know there's some smoke that some teams have Malik Neighbors as a higher-ranked receiver. I don't buy that. I certainly don't buy it for the Cardinals. And I think that Kyler they traded a first-round pick for Hollywood Brown that obviously didn't quite work out the way they had hoped. A.J. Green, you mentioned, he was a shell of what he had been in Cincinnati. They saw what Kyler can look like with DeAndre. I love the Marvin Harrison Jr. fit, and I think that is a no-brainer pick for them if they stay.
Sleeper team. Back on the
Cardinals?
Oh, yeah.
Your Super Bowl pick 2 years ago.
Yeah. I only need to get 7 wins. And this mock.
Wait, I just realized your Super Bowl pick 2 years in a row. You're not accountable for it because your quarterback got hurt.
Thank you.
Kyler got hurt and Kirk got hurt. You're off the hook.
In this mock, Nick playing with AFC West fire as the Raiders grab the electric Heisman Trophy winner out of LSU, former Patriot, or future Patriot, Jaden Daniels, but you've got him going to the Raiders. Brew, do you like Jaden Daniels in Las Vegas?
If they could get him, I love it for them.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they need a quarterback. And I see him like Anthony Richardson. I don't think he's quite as athletic as Richardson, but I think he's a lot like Richardson, but more polished as a passer. Like the athleticism Richardson gives you, he can run it clearly, but I think he's a better passer than Richardson. And he seems to be a guy that works hard, that really wants to be good, like not a prima donna or anything like that.
Awesome.
So I do think with the weapons they have, the defense they're building, that this would be a great pick if they can get him.
Well, listen, it's a total boom or bust situation because of his size. If he can hold up to the beating of an NFL season, he'll be excellent. And the biggest difference between him, Anthony Richardson and him to me is that Anthony Richardson is probably 40 pounds heavier. Obviously, Jaden was the far more productive collegiate player. But even Anthony, his problem was he got too beat up too quickly. If he were there at 13 where the Raiders are drafting, they would 100% take him. The question is, how much will they pay to move up if, you know what I mean, if they want him? Again, it should be noted, he and Antonio Pierce have the relationship from the time at Arizona State, so I think obviously that's their ideal scenario.
Finally, the Jets. Important distinction here. We all think the Jets should draft someone to protect Aaron Rodgers, but as Nick pointed out, this is not what we think they should do. But what we think they will do, because they are a bit of a silly team. Brew, do you think they go after, or we'll say, do you like them going after another weapon?
I'm with you guys in that they need to get their line. Now, they've gotten 3 new offensive linemen, so they may feel like that's enough. But depth, you never know, especially with the guys they got. A couple of them are injury prone. So go ahead and get some depth. And Bowers is great, but Tyler Conklin's not bad. And you, with the weapons, or the receivers that they have in Williams and Wilson, and then Breece Hall, that'll open things up for a tight end. And I think a lot of these tight ends are really good. And Conklin, I think, in the right situation with Rodgers throwing to him, can be good. I'm not saying great, but he can be good enough that you should go out and get an offensive line.
I will believe in the Jets considerably more if they take a tackle at 10.
Okay.
It will be an adult decision. It will all of a sudden insure you a bit from what I think is the probably inevitable injury to Tyron Smith for at least part of the year. Maybe not significant injury, but for a few games. I think they feel like the type of team that's going to be like, oh my God, look at the poster with Brock Bowers on it. And that's what they'll do. So I think the smart move would be take a tackle, so that's not what the Jets do.
That was very good. Iowa LSU next.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.